This is Joe,
Michelle,
Melissa,
and Shannon.
with More Than a Sniff, where we talk about everything dog.
from training to nutrition,
From behavior modification to grooming.
from vet visits to dog parks.
From getting to know us to having guests. Today we're going to talk about a topic that tends to be somewhat slightly scary to a lot of pet owners. And I would say a very small portion of pet owners really probably experience true resource guarding. And obviously that's what we're going to talk about today is resource guarding. And we have a dog here in our program that he's a resource guarder. And in the midst of all of that, there was an article that was written about what you should do about resource guarding. And, putting the whole thing in context, resource guarding comes in a lot of different stages. It comes in a lot of different colors. It comes in a lot of different things as far as what resource guarding is. And people don't understand that resource guarding is actually a healthy thing. It's a normal thing. And we as human beings resource guard as well. And that's the piece that a lot of people don't get is, how do you resource guard your car, Michelle?
How do I resource guard my car? By locking it?
Right. Right. Melissa, how do you resource guard your house?
locking it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Shannon, how do you resource guard your garage that somebody was coming into last weekend?
I yelled at the person that was coming in the garage, "Can I help you?" And they said no. And then I closed the garage door.
So resource guarding is real and it's normal. We just don't call it that. Within the family, you resource guard. I mean, kids protect their toys that they don't want siblings to have, or your clothes, it's normal.
It's funny, actually, this weekend, everybody was making fun of me. I'm the stingiest person when it comes to sharing food. I'm so terrible. Like, we actually, we were in Vegas with a bunch of our friends, and they were making fun of me. Brandon, my husband, was making fun of me, and he's like, "Oh, we're going to call our sister and ask." And they called my sister, and she was like, "Oh, if Michelle has a bag of M&Ms, you're getting one M&M if you ask."
Right.
I'm so terrible.
Cheyenne's that way. Yeah. You're like, "Hey, can I have one of those? All right, can I have some?" She'll give me one. Like, "Oh, thanks." Thanks. Right. Yeah, it is such a normal behavior that when it's extreme, that's when people notice it, right? Michelle only giving one M&M or not even like offering, right? That everybody notices it. We're like, yeah, Michelle's right. So it's so real, but it's how we handle it is what impacts the intensity and how things move forward. So in this article, it talks about how one should address resource guarding, and the first one is so instead of creating pressure and resistance and not giving or taking away or stealing the dog's thing, in this article, the first step is that you need to stop whatever you did that caused your dog to growl. Stop doing it immediately. If you were walking towards him, stand still. If you were reaching towards him, stop reaching. If you were trying to take the toy or bone away from him, stop trying. Sure, I get it, but what in that situation, how can we change that to help with the from the dog's perspective from it?
I mean, I think it really kind of depends a little bit on what we're talking about here and how safe you are. Because, of course, none of us want you to get bit. We don't want your dog to go to that place, ever. You never want your dog to have to go to a place it feels like it has to bite you.
Right.
I mean, it's obviously going to be different if it's a stranger. Like, if you have some kid in your house, of course, you're going to get the kid out of that situation.
Right.
But by backing off in the way that they're talking, I mean, I don't even know if we've really gotten to the backing off. It just was stop, right? Just stop. Like, I mean, that's just teaching your dog that, oh, I did that. And they stopped doing what was making me uncomfortable, which I totally understand from a human's point of view. It totally makes sense. But from a dog's point of view, they just won that fight already. Yeah. Without having to go to that place of biting. They won. So next time when you do get closer, what's going to happen?
Right. And on accident, you get closer, what's going to happen?
Right.
Yeah. Not even paying attention. So their next step was to analyze. Your next action depends on your lightning fast analysis of the situation. If your dog is about to bite you, retreat quickly. If you're confident he won't escalate, stay still. If you aren't sure, retreat. Err on the side of caution. Complete your analysis by identifying what resource he had that was valuable enough to guard and what you were doing that caused him to guard. Melissa?
And think about that. One, the retreating, that, like what Michelle says, that rewards him. Like, oh, I just learned if I do this, they go away. Stopping that, if you're just continuing that pressure, your dog could escalate. And then you'll just have to retreat. So then they know, oh, okay, if I escalate, they go away. This is great. I win.
Right. Shannon, how do you analyze resource guarding at your house?
There's really not much analyzation that I can think that happens. Your dog starts acting weird about something, and you can definitely tell. And it can be, I have an extreme resource guarding dog, so it could be anything. It could be a space. It could be a toy. It could be a food. It could be something totally random, So you just notice my dog's doing something weird, and then I just think, how do we stop this being weird? And it could be continuing on your pathway, like maybe you have a pathway in your house that you're like going to go get a drink of water. And you walk by the dog and he gets weird. Well, I would just keep going on my pathway and get my drink of water. I'm not doing anything. I'm just drinking, Oh, okay. Why were you weird? I don't know. And then everything else the rest of the day may or may not go fine, So you just have to notice when your dog's being weird and then maybe think about why are you being weird? Is it just you're being weird, or is there something that you need to handle?
I think we all have to look at, situations and analyze it, but stopping and retreating and sometimes addressing it right then and there is not the right answer, that you should just shift and change the picture at that point. And whatever that picture is, right, I'm just going to keep on walking on. That's changing the picture to the dog. You're not changing. His behavior is not changing you, but you shouldn't be pursuing, but you need to change the picture. So that obviously we don't want anybody to get bit, but change the picture, make a loud noise, just drop something else, just change the picture for them, would really be the quickest, as they say it, lightning fast analysis, change the picture. That's what you should be doing. Okay. Retreating. If you've already retreated because you feared a bite, go on to number 4. If you stayed still, wait for some lessening of his tension and then retreat. Here's the dilemma. Dogs give off guarding signals: a freeze, a hard stare, a stiffening of the body, a growl, a snarl, a snap, or a bite to make you go away and leave them alone and their valuable objects. So, retreating versus changing the picture, what does that look like? Michelle?
We kind of already talked about it.
Yep.
That would be the walking away. That would be the dog winning. Done. Simple. He won.
Right.
You left.
Right.
He still has whatever he wanted.
Right.
That you didn't change the picture.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. How would be a good way to retreat? Like, what would be a good leader?
If we're just talking, because I think the biggest thing that people have problem with is usually bones or food. In that situation, I've never had this happen with any of my dogs, like towards me, but I'd make a loud noise and tell them to knock it off. I would change that picture in that way for them. And I would not put my hand there. That would just be, grabbing their food is obviously not the right thing, but I would make a loud enough noise to throw them off to change that picture.
Yep.
And then I'd go get whatever it was that they were not letting me have.
Yeah.
And take it.
Yep. What else could you do, Melissa?
I was just kind of thinking, if you have a dog that's very work-oriented, or if there's certain commands that you could give. So Cooper doesn't resource guard, but she kind of gets, I guess it could be a form of resource guarding, fixated on things.
Yep.
And she kind of becomes really perturbed and kind of and wants, and usually it's around my running shoes that she gets very obnoxious around, which is understandable. She loves to go running with me, and that's her cue when I get those on.
Yep.
But for her, I give her a command. If she starts acting weird, go chill. Go on the perch.
Right.
go shut the door, just something to redirect her attention.
Yeah.
And then I take away.
Yeah. Remove that.
Yeah, I just remove that
Right.
fixation.
Right. Yeah. Retreating is not the answer. It is, to me, a retreating would be, we're all going to retreat. Let's go outside. Let's, you're going to change the picture. You're going to do something different. You're going to discipline.
They're
for
definitely,
that.
my dogs are, I mean, there are things they resource guard for
Sure.
sure. All of them, all three of them have something weird about the bed or the couch. And it's never, ever, ever been scary or escalated to anything that I was like, oh,
Yep.
this is a problem. But there have been times they've all gotten off the bed.
Right. Right.
You
Yep.
growl, Murphy, you growl at Prudence. You're all getting off.
Yeah.
I don't want any of you on here.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, because you don't know what's the trigger. So you're going to be the leader. You're going to set that precedence. This is my bed. There's nobody should be growling. Right. Rather Prudence looked at him. It's just like this weekend with Murphy here when we let him on the bed Sunday morning. And the cat got up there, and the cat was like, this is my bed and my spot. What are you doing up here? Like, that doesn't happen. And he really, he sat up. That's when he was like, oh, I'm going to sit up there. And so everybody resource guards something. And most people would say, well, the cat just got on the bed, and the cat scared him. No, the cat gave him a clear, excuse me. And so even, Prudence could have given Murphy something for him to go, no, really, this is my bed, So it's understanding, not retreating. And then moving on to step 4, because we've already retreated, we're going to manage. Give your dog guardable things only when you won't have to take them away.
I just really would like to know when that is. Honestly, I genuinely want to ask whoever this is in this situation, when is there going to be a perfect time that your dog is there's going to be sometime at some point you're going to have to reach in their kennel and grab something.
Right.
And they're going to be in there.
Yeah. Yep.
For safety reasons, especially because we're talking about bones and stuff like that. What if your dog is choking on it?
Right. Yeah.
What if it gets too small that you're like, oh, he could choke on it and you have to take it away from it?
Right.
That to me is just, I don't think there should ever be managing, but to a certain extent, but it just seems on that.
Right.
It seems crazy.
Right. And they did say crates are a good place for a resource guarder to enjoy his valuable objects. What does that create?
That creates that the whole resource to guard is the kennel. Yeah. And so it can start directly inside the kennel, so you can't ever get anything out of there, including the dog, and it can branch out around the kennel into your house. So anybody that walks by the kennel or looks at the kennel or, and then you have a dog that's charging out of their kennel to attack people in your house, anyone that comes over.
Right. And can you ever 100% guarantee somebody else is not going to walk in your house and do it?
Yep. Right.
Some kid is going to walk in your house?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Crates are definitely a tool, but it's not something that you go, okay, you're a resource guarder, so I'm only going to give you a bone in here, and we're just not going to address it because it does branch out. Louis, when he was here, and we learned this the hard way, was when his food's down and he's in his crate, you have to be prepared because he's coming out fast at you. And it's not like he's attacking you; he's just creating bigger space. Get out of here! I've got my food in my crate. So then you're like, what are you doing? And so for him, we would, just open the crate and put her back to him and walk away fast. We're not retreating. We're asking him to come with us. And he would happily come with us. It's just if we open the crate and at our house, if the dogs don't eat and, I would leave Louis' food in there to give him some opportunity because of stress that it's going to be there. Don't worry about it kind of a thing. And so when it happened, I just was going to close the door. And he was like, hell no, you're not going to do that. I'm claiming it all. So, it's real, and you shouldn't create a place for a dog to resource guard. And then moving on to step 5 is to train. And their advice is to, 1, you don't want the dog to feel the stress. And 2, you want to teach them to trade and teach the trade command. starting with low value objects and working up to high value. I'm pretty sure dogs know the difference between low value and high value and what's worth guarding and what's not worth guarding. And so it doesn't make sense to me in the dog's mind that, starting with you can start with a low value and trade, which they will happily do, but the higher value you get is pretty intense and can be pretty intense. And then the other thing is that they say in here is you want them to you want to teach the trade command so they'll happily give you the thing on cue when you need him to, and then outthink your dog. Resource guarding is not a good place for a battle of wills. Outthink your dog. I'm not very good at that. I don't know that anybody can I don't know what outthinking means. And I think that's manipulative, and I think it's lying, and I think it just creates more. So, there's some words in there that, what do you think of when you hear outthinking your dog?
Tricking them. To get the thing away, you have to resort to trickery.
Right. And it's something that we are really against in our philosophies.
I just don't think it works because then the dog just learns that trick. So then you just have to keep thinking of new tricks.
Right.
Like dogs are they're not stupid. Like that's the thing. Like they're going to next time be like, oh, they're going to make me do this. So I'm just going to go this other direction now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's such a weird way of thinking. And this is so real. And I can't imagine being a first time dog owner and having a dog that's resource guarding, and following these steps, because somewhere in there you have to be a leader. Somewhere in there you have to be a director. Somewhere in there you have to create an environment that the dog doesn't feel like they need to resource guard. We don't in general, as we're teaching the dogs in our family, everybody has their place to eat, like general place to eat. And it's that place is wherever we set the bowl down for them, and they wait for their bowl to be sat down. But if another dog walks over to their bowl, it's my responsibility to keep that other dog safe, not the dog that's eating their food, because I've allowed or I've given them, like, this is your food. And so for the longest time with Chianti, she's such a weird eater that if we would correct the puppy for going into her space, then Chianti would think that she's being corrected, so then she just won't eat. And so, it was more not getting mad or not correcting or not disciplining Trigger, but redirecting her to keep her safe, and that Chianti didn't feel like she needed to go to that place to start with as far as teaching a puppy. The other crazy thing is, resource guarding comes in many different colors. And so we have a Corgi here that he resource guards things that are valuable to his owner. And that's from their other dog in the household. And it's the bed, it's under her desk, it's their backpacks. So when they're out on the trail, they're very avid hikers and climbers. And so their climbing packs at the bottom, the dogs are at the bottom, and he is just on guard. So anybody else that comes up to climb with them, so he'll even resource guard against people if they set the pack down. So she stopped having him come into the room, their old dog and her. So this is ultimately what ended up why they called, was her and the old dog were sleeping downstairs, and Baxter and the husband were sleeping upstairs. So there's our management piece, right? So then when she was working in her office and she had a meeting and she couldn't do anything about it, she would put the old dog in the car because they don't have a completely fenced-in yard. And so there's our management piece. And then with the backpacks, what she started doing was putting them in two different locations and back tying him to the third location. But he still would fixate on one or the other, so he wouldn't guard both packs. But then when they were hiking and they sat down to have lunch, and the old dog was there, and they reached in to grab their lunches out and everything, and he went after the old dog at that point. So, resource guarding spaces. He's resource guarding things that are of value to them, but not food. So to teach that trade command doesn't make any sense in that situation. And so he's here for training. And what we have been doing, one is that he is being crate trained, which they had never done. And the fascinating thing that everybody would find fascinating is he loves his crate because guess what? It's a space. And so what we've been doing is everybody goes down and I toss treats in his crate and everybody else gets to go in and get the treats. And then he gets put in his crate. So it's just a place for him to be and everybody else gets the value in there, not him. He doesn't get his value in there. He gets his food in there because that helps with crate training. But our next step from here is he will be tied upstairs around my dogs. What has happened in the past at his house is he just won't eat. He just guards his food, and he just won't eat. So we'll go through a couple of days of not eating because he'll be up and everybody will be milling around. And I will resource guard his food from the other dogs and help him understand that I will take care of that piece and let him eat. So going through steps in the process, it is important to work with a trainer when you're going through this. It's not something that you should try and take on because biting is real, and that's a very classic "I'm going to bite you" situation. But it's not about avoiding. It's not about managing. It's about finding the steps to solve the problem to help the dog understand that we just don't do that. That's not yours to do that with. And there's nothing wrong with teaching him that he has things. And when you're chewing on a bone, that's fine. You can chew on your bone and nobody else needs to take it, but we don't need to not chew on it, but guard it. So, Melissa, do you have anything else to add to resource guarding?
No, one thing I kind of think about is like resource guarding can come in all levels. It doesn't have to be that biting, that intensity. One thing I remembered Cooper did do when she was younger, when we go backpacking or camping, she circles around the camp, always circling. And if a squirrel comes near, she chases the squirrel away, and she'll stand guard, but she becomes fixated on resource guarding the camp. And so for her, the biggest discipline would be taking her away from the pack. She is very sensitive to that, and it does make a big impression on her. So when she did that, we took her out of that perimeter. We tied her up to a tree, and we ignored her. Yeah. And then she'd kind of, once we let her back in, she'd kind of sulk back into camp. But that kind of made very clear to her that you don't have to circle on. So watch your dogs for the little resource guarding. Make sure it doesn't go to that stage. Right. Because even like a small amount of resource guarding can cause anxiety and stress in your dog. And it's just not a happy place for them to be.
Yep. Michelle?
You can totally prevent all of this stuff from happening. As you were telling that story about the corgi and stuff like that, I'm not 100% not saying that this is what those people did, but I genuinely in my head was like, oh, I bet the first time he protected their bag, that was cute because they thought he was so excited he was with them. Right. And that was like his bag. He was so excited to go hiking with them. And people do that all the time. Like, they're like, oh, it's cute that he doesn't want my husband to get in bed with us. That's not, it's not. It is like, it turns in from like a growl to a full on, like your husband gets bit. Like it's not okay. Yeah. But I can see how people would find it cute at the beginning. Right. And this stuff is 100% preventable with training in the first place.
Yep. And what's fascinating is when Louis was with us, and he's Shannon's resource guarder. I mean, he's really good at it. And really, once he understood that this is the picture that we're creating, is like we just come out of our crate. Two things started happening. He actually started eating his meals, and there was never a threat to it. It wasn't managing piece because he got corrected when he came out like that. But he learned that we're just going outside. We're just doing something different, and so it totally shifted him for the rest of the time that he was here. He didn't do it once after that. But he would question everybody else. And I would say, just turn around and walk away. Like, open his crate and turn around and walk away. And then he was like, oh, you get it too. We're just going outside. And so I think you've done a really great job with him for who he is, to where you're not managing it. It's just you have to think through the eyes of your dog and what helped him be successful and not feel that stress. The other thing is something that you said, Shannon, was if he's resource guarding a space and you're going in to get a drink of water, you just keep going on to get a drink of water. And so you're not acknowledging it, and he doesn't take any action to it. He's just like, I got this space, and nobody acknowledges it, and they won't take action with that. I mean, if they're laying in their bed chewing on their bone, and you're just moving, you just go about what you're doing, they're not going to resource guard in a sense of attacking you or even growling, really. What are some of the other situations that you've kind of just helped Louis through his stuff? Because now he's got a sister in the household of another dog. And so how is he handling that piece of it?
Well, I do feed him in his kennel at home, but I can open the door and reach in and take his bowl out. And that's because I've done a lot of work of him being outside the kennel and like me getting in, me taking stuff out and putting it in, so that he just like knows whatever stuff goes in and stuff goes out, it's fine. You can still go in there, but sometimes I need to take stuff out. And, okay. I notice with Ripley in the house, he'll come out of his kennel, but then he'll stand like by it. Like, I have to watch it. And so if he's not with me, I know he's being weird. So I'll come and peek around the corner and see what he's doing and see him standing there, and I'll say, what are you doing? And he's like, what? Where? And he'll just come with me. He's like, yeah, we're supposed to be in the office on our bed right now. So that's I just watch him to see what he's doing. Yeah. And that sometimes it's as simple as that. What are you doing? Oh yeah, I forgot. I'm not doing anything. Whatever. I'm coming with you, So you can do little things to change the picture, and then if you have, if you're really, really being guarding stuff and being nasty, then you just have to work through it. And that's the thing. I think it's important to realize that you have to work through it until your dog is okay, because just trying to manage it by like not ever giving your dog a cookie, or not ever letting him see a tennis shoe, or not ever letting someone sit on the seat on the sofa isn't like a reasonable way to handle it. You have to help them work through it so they know that someone sitting on the sofa there isn't threatening. People just sit on the sofa, and that's what they do. Oh, okay, that's what we do. That's the important part, is you need to have help to help the dog learn what's appropriate and what's not. And that's the key thing, not to manage it by keeping stuff away from them or tricking them out of things,
Anything else, you guys?
I was just thinking of because I said that most of the stuff is totally preventable, and I was just trying to think of like what I do and what I've done in the past. I still get on the floor and play with my dog's toys with them. Like I will lay on the floor and like hold on to one side of the bone. Or that being said, do not tease your dog with that stuff, because you're going to create a problem.
Right, exactly.
Like I could just picture somebody being like, I got your bone, but
right, and
don't do
we
that.
see that.
We do. So don't do that.
Yeah.
But like Murphy is 6, and I still like I will sometimes just sit next to his bowl and put my hand in it.
Yeah.
And it really is like Murphy being 6, and me and my husband are considering having children someday. He's going to be 10 by the time that happens.
Right.
And if I find out when he's 10 that this is a problem,
Right.
like
It's pretty much over.
like it's going to have to be
now
managed
you're
at
going to
that
have
point.
to manage it. Yeah.
And I will not live with a dog like that. I will not. And
Yep.
you don't have to. Shannon
Right.
doesn't live with it. I mean, she lives with a dog that is a resource guarder, but she doesn't have to live by being
In
afraid
fear.
of her dog.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't.
Right. Yeah. There's so much you can do, and definitely get help as you go through this. But you also have to acknowledge and remember that we as human beings resource guard. It's a real behavior. We just don't call it that. We call it protecting. We're calling it keeping all the bad guys out, right? So it is really, it's now to the point that we have to resource guard our packages that get delivered on our front porch, because our front porch is no longer safe. So now we're going to give you a code to get into our house. And so it's really, it can be a learned behavior if it is that intense in the household. It could be something that the dog learns from us. It's just like being aggressive at the front door. So it's a real behavior, and it's something that we should all take a look at. And I'm not saying you shouldn't resource guard your house or your cars, but how are we managing ourselves with resource guarding, and And is it something that our dog is picking up, that that's just what we do in the household, versus that, yeah, it's a real behavior. It's normal. And dogs, there's always resource guarding going on with the dogs. Always. I mean, they're going to take their bone and they're going to go away from you. It's resource guarding. It's not a bad resource guard. It's just resource guarding. So there's good and
hides
bad.
all her bones, and Rambo just follows her and waits until she gets out of the closet.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. And mine, I mean, they pack the toys around out here. It's not because we're packing toys around because we're playing with the toys. They don't, especially Chianti, she doesn't want anybody else to have that. And so she's just going to pack it around. But it's not healthy. She doesn't get mad about it. Everybody just knows, oh, Chianti's got the bone. So Chianti's got the bone, so it's a real behavior, and there is good resource guarding as well.